Hello everyone, welcome to the next session on SAP UI5 in Fiori Trading. In the last session in SAP UI5, we discussed about XML model. In today's class, we will go ahead and talk about resource model. Let's go ahead and discuss about resource model. So what we're going to do now, what is resource model? What is the purpose of resource model? And how does the resource model helps you? So resource model is mainly used for internationalization. So let me come back, discuss here. The resource model is used for the purpose of internationalization. What is internationalization? A software which is developed is used across the world. So software which you develop is used across the world in different languages. In some countries, people are not fluent in English. They are not comfortable with English language. So it's important for accessibility purpose that the software is offered in multiple languages, and that's what called internationalization technique. As you guys are already aware, the translation plays a very important role. If you have ever worked with the real-time ABAP project, we also have translation of all the message texts, all the data element labels, and all the possible text elements which you create in ABAP language. Similarly, with SAP UI5, we are putting a lot of labels on the UI, and these labels are necessarily required to be translated so that user can consume your software in multiple languages. So what is the industry standard for internationalization? The industry standard for internationalization is called I18N. This is what it is called. Internationalization is called I18N. That's called internationalization standard for translation. This is the reason why when we are going to put our internationalization folder in our application, we will be keeping the name as I18N. There is no doubt that you can change the folder name or the file name and keep it anything you like, but it is again a best practice and a good standard to follow. It's my duty to teach you all the standards. It's up to you whether you accept or not accept, whether you follow or not follow. That is up to you. It's my duty to tell you the best practices and standard. There is no hard and fast rule that the folder name and the file name which you're going to put for internationalization is going to be I18N or not. Okay, so let's go back, and all the application labels which we have, we are now going to put them as I18N labels. So first of all, I come back and add another folder to web app directory. Everything which you do has to be part of web app directory. There is nothing outside web app directory. Watch out, watch out. Nothing outside web app directory, guys. Nothing outside. I'm observing many people are sending me doubts, and they are putting some files knowingly unknowingly outside the web app folder. They are creating them in SAP UI5 project folder, and then they are coming, Anubhav, it's not working. Where, how will it work, guys? Your web app folder is your namespace. All the files are referenced with respect to your namespace. How will it work? It won't work, guys, if you're keeping it outside the web app folder. Please respect your namespace. Please keep it inside the web app folder. Don't miss out. This is a very often mistake, and I agree that you can do this mistake. That's okay, but you need to understand that everything has to be part of web app directory. Okay. All right, so let's move on and create a new folder. We cannot go with another completely different project, because this project is going to become a full-fledged project now. So we cannot create another folder altogether, because all these are subsequent topics. They are not like break off topics. They're all subsequent topics to make a full-fledged UI5 application. I18N is the folder name. Again, it's your choice. The folder name you want to keep whatever you like, but the standard says keep it I18N, and then create a file inside, and let's name it as I18N dot properties. And now you see this is created over here, I18N dot properties. And now what I'm going to do is I will just go back and look at here, this employee number, employee name, these are all your labels. Salary, all these are your labels. You can see these labels, and we are going to now put for these each of these labels an I18N text. So what is the naming convention here to put the text? So typical naming convention, I'll quickly tell you. XBUT is for button, XTIT for titles, XTXT for text labels. Yeah, these are all the top three used naming convention which we use for I18N standard. For button text, title text, label text, XLBL is also typically used. It's up to you to choose. So text labels, titles, buttons, so these are all the top used. XMSG for messages. So these are all how we use naming convention to put any of our labels, titles and buttons. So let's come here, and I'm going to put first xt title or xtxt text labels, and underscore, let's say emp number, and I will just say, don't put double quote. Many people put double quote after this. Don't do that. Employee number, then we have xtxt underscore emp name equals to, just keep it as whatever you wish, you can put it, employee name, xtxt underscore salary, xtxt underscore s currency, xtxt underscore smk smoker, xtxt underscore gender, xtxt underscore rating, xtxt underscore mstat. So all the labels in your application, the file extension has to be dot properties file, guys. This has to be dot properties file. Name is your choice. You can keep any name, but file extension has to be dot properties file. Okay. But it's a good practice always to follow standard, guys. Don't break standard. Xtxt underscore magic. We had one button called magic. Xtxt underscore flip. We had one button. Actually this should be xbut, because that's a button label. It's a good practice to put like this. Of course you can violate standard, it's up to you. Nobody will stop you to violate standard, but when you do code review, that time they will give you nice comments. All right, are these the only labels? We have salary, these are all covered, these are all covered. Yes, almost everything is covered. These are all my labels for the application. Now guys, try to understand there are two roles here. One is the application developer, and one is called KM. KM stands for knowledge manager. These are all two roles in your company. Are you expertise in every language on this planet? Any one of you here who can speak Chinese, Japanese, German, Russian, Korean? Of course not. And also you cannot understand the emotion of a language. For example, if I say a small example, wo in Hindi means that person, but in Chinese, if you say wo means ye. Okay, it means ye. Okay, so that's a difference, guys. Every language has different emotion. They have tones, different meanings of different words, and you are not a language expert. Okay. In small companies or companies which budget constrained, they ask you to do translation by your own. But usually there is a dedicated guy called KM, knowledge manager, who is responsible for performing translations. You as an application developer, what is your responsibility? Your responsibility is to provision the application in a way that it can support translation, right? And display translated texts. That is what your responsibility in best case scenario. So as a developer, our job is to create resource model and bind texts with that resource file. Is that clear, everybody? Your technical responsibility as a developer, what you supposed to do. Many time people mix up things. Okay, don't mix up things, guys. You have to be very clear, because if you mix up things, you will be sued. You will be sued definitely, because if you tell your manager I will do everything, then your manager will think, you since you are saying you will do everything, everything will be up to the best quality. But in case of translation, it's not probably the best quality you can offer, because you are not an expert in translation. Okay. However, there are tools in the market like Google Translator, Babylon, lot of tools which can do translation, but that's something which you cannot guarantee that it's proper, right? Because you don't have the knowledge. So KM responsibility is to provide or perform translation. That's what KM's responsibility is, to perform translation and make the text available. Okay, that's what KM's responsibility. So KM is the guy. This guy is responsible for performing the translation and making and testing quickly the application. Of course, testing is also your responsibility, but this also can be done by the KM afterwards after doing the translation. So how, what is that a developer has to do? So as a developer, you have to create this file, put all the labels, and now it's time to create a resource data model. We had already created that. Let's go to the models, and here in the resource data model, you can see this is the resource data model. We have to mention a parameter. The parameter name is resource bundle. I think it's bundle URL. Okay, we have to give the bundle URL, and I will say i18n slash i18n dot properties. So which means if you have given a different file name, then you have to put a different file name here as well. Okay, so this is called resource bundle URL. While creating the resource model, you have to do like this. Is this clear, everyone? How to create a resource model and set the bundle URL where your labels are? Yeah, all right. This is where your labels are. And now set this model at the app level as usual, 3 steps. So making the data available, making the model created, and now making it available for the app. Come to init method and call this now var o i18n. Any name you can give, your choice. My models dot create resource model, and no path is required because we already hard coded the same. And now make this available to the entire app level SAP UI. Okay, we can use this dot occur. That's a global variable I've created, dot set model, and I just set my newly created i18n model, comma, and I'm going to put double quote here. Inside this double quote, what do we put? We will put here inside double quote i18n. It's up to you again. This is the named model, guys. You remember the named model concept? We can have two models. Like Mario, we created a named model. Similarly, now I'm creating a resource model as a named model i18n. You can put here Anubhav also, don't mind. Yeah, so that's completely fine, but it's good practice to follow standard. As you see, our emphasis is also more on following the standard. Very important, we should follow standards, guys. All right, so that's what we did. We had followed a standard here. and it is created I18N. And now it's time to let's link it up. So we will pick it up this, and wherever we have those hard coded labels, we are now going to link this I18N model. So let's go back to the view and check it out, where all you have this. You see this employee number. So anyone, if you want to bind with the named model, what should you do? What is the syntax to bind with a named model? Who will tell me what is the syntax to bind with the named model? What is the syntax to bind with the named model? No, not the value. No, 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 no. What is the syntax? Perfect answer. Ajit has got it right. It's model arrow, the property name. That's what you got to do. Perfect answer, Ajit. Thank you so much. So I10N is my model name, arrow. What is the property? I want to bind this one, employee number. Let's pick it up and put that over here. So this text, this label of this column will now come from employee number. Is that clear, everyone? And let's come down in the somewhere in the labels of input field also we have it. So I put that. And next one comes is this employee name. So I'm gonna put that, and it's EMPE name label. So that's e name. I'm just going to put that also for my input field employee name. And now let's go back on the top, and now comes his salary, xtxt salary. Let's come down, and in input field also we have salary. Let's put that. Next comes is your currency है ही नहीं इसमें, because we merged both of them. Smoker we have, so we just put smk smoker. And let's come down and we put smoker also. We don't have downstairs, so let's put gender. Let's put this status, marital status. And let's put rating. And we are almost through. We have to also put here magic, which is a button. Then we have flip model. Yeah, so it has no difference. It's just a naming convention. X beauty indicates that it's a button label. It has no difference. Put xtxt, nobody's stopping you. Go ahead, do that. Do that. Now guys, tell me one thing. In ABAP, if I say lv underscore Martner type table of Mara, this is a naming convention for creating a variable. But do you think this lv Martner is a variable in this case? Do you think lv Martner is a variable? Of course not. The syntax I've used to create an internal table. How will it act like a variable? Just a naming convention. Just a naming convention. Same thing applies here. It's just a naming convention for your purpose, for understanding purpose, for following standard. Guys, playing standard is a very important thing. You can breach standard easily. Easily. Following standard is very important, guys. We are just following standard, because I have seen more than 80 plus Fury applications at different types of application, and I have a understanding of standard how SAP is building their apps. So that much, if I have seen, I can propagate that knowledge to you guys, so you never do a mistake which violates a standard, because code review is also part of your process of quality. A good quality code is everybody expects. So it has no point whether you put beauty or anything else. You can put Anubhav also. Who is stopping you? Put it, no problem. Who's stopping you? Go ahead and use it. But is that a standard? It's not a college project, right? Your company would expect you to deliver a quality code. That's the reason we had put this, following just the standard naming convention for the labels of the 18N. Wow. Let's come back. And now if our model works properly, you remember last time when you're seeing the label, it was EMPNO. If your model is proper, what do you see now instead of EMPNO? Everyone? If your model is binding is proper, instead of this EMPNO label, you should see employee number, because that's the label I put it in I-18N. See here, that's the label I put it here, employee number. All right, that is what we have done. Let's come back and refresh the page. Voila, there you go. Can you see employee number? Employee number. What does this indicates? This has successfully picked up all the labels from your file, isn't it? Is that clear, guys? It has picked up from I-18N file all the labels properly. You see, but this XBUT magic is not proper. See, it is not coming as magic. Flip is proper, but magic has got some issue. Let's check it out. What's the issue? I go back to the app and XBUT magic. Let's me copy that. I think I've done a spelling mistake. Somewhere definitely I've done a spelling mistake. XBTN I put it, not B. It should be BUT, right? Button, not BTN. All right, let's come back and refresh. And you should see now the label magic will appear. Voila. Are you guys clear? That's your responsibility. That's where your responsibility ends as an application developer. Is this part clear till here? Is this part clear till here? Is this boundary clear for all of you? Don't break your boundaries. Stay within that. Now the job of KM starts. But in companies where people have half knowledge, where managers has no budget, they will ask you only to do this also. I'm sure many of you have such situations where your company don't have extra budget for KM and they want you only to perform these activities. You might have also done translations using Babylon for your ABAP text in SE, which transaction, SE 16 or whatever, I don't know, SE 63 I think. Yeah, that's where you are doing translation in ABAP also for yourself, right? So what does the KM does? Suppose I want this software to be used in northern part of India where people are not fluent with English. What is the language which northern part of India which is famous? Which language the northern part of India is used? Hindi, of course. So now people are not comfortable with English language, so they want to use this software in Hindi language. How can we bring it on, guys? So what does the KM does? What are the steps KM does? KM first of all goes makes a copy of this I-18N file. Okay, KM makes a copy of I-18N file and keep the name as underscore language code. That's again very important. You can't avoid that. So make a copy of the file and keep the name of the file as file name underscore language code. Where do you find language code? Just Google it up. So Hindi language code, Hindi language ISO code. Search for that. You will find ISO codes for each of the language. For Hindi language, it's HI, high. Okay, that's the language code for Hindi, ISO language code for Hindi. Similarly, you can search for Spanish, German. So for example, German, it's DE. DE is the language code for German. You see, DE is for German language code, language family, ISO language name, and you see DE is the language name. So similarly, you have Gujarati, you have all the different languages, Greek. So you see all the language codes for each of the language. You can Google it up. So for Hindi, it's HI. So what I'll do is as a KM. Now suppose I'm in the shoe of a KM. I make a copy and I paste it again, and then I'll come here and put underscore HI Hindi language. Yeah, press OK. And now it's time to provide all the labels in Hindi language over here. Right, guys? So don't touch the existing I-18N, but now all the Hindi labels you should provide in I-18N dot underscore HI. Here we have to provide it. All right. So let's go ahead and do this. So even I'm not so comfortable with Hindi language. However, what I'll do is I will take help from Google to translate these things into Hindi. All right. So you can do it to Kannada, Tamilian, Telugu, Malayali, whatever language you are comfortable. I have one of my students from Tamil Nadu. He has built a Fury application for localites and he has translated all his labels into Tamil language. and then all of them are very happy to use the software or with the Fiori application in Tamil language, because people more comfortable with Tamil language over there in southern part of India, right? So you can definitely do it in your mother tongue, whichever language you like, you belongs to. You can really change the life of your end users in your area. All right, let's come back. I'm going to go back and I will say, hey Google, can you please give me Google Translator? Translate English to Hindi. So you can see this is what we got, and I'm just going to put both of the things side by side. Yeah, that's what we can do. And let's start translating them one by one. All right, let's do that and just squeeze it a little bit. And now let's come back. Employee number, I'm just going to put, it's Karamchari Sankhya. So let's do that. Pick it up and paste it over here. Yeah, voila, nice, superb. And then take employee name, Karamchari ka naam, very nice, funny. Then comes his salary. Anyone? Salary, what is it called in Hindi? Let's test Hindi. Your Hindi. Anyone? Pagar? No, that's a Urdu word. Vetan. Very good, Raj. It's called Vetan. So let's put here. Currency. Everybody knows about demonetization. What is currency called in Hindi? Mudra. Voila. Yeah, my Hindi is good. I am from Hindi medium, guys. Okay. Smoker. Dhumrupan karne. That's an incorrect one, but it's okay. As a KM, as an engineer, I don't know. As a software engineer, I don't care. My manager asked me just blindly do translation and put it. Yeah. So I don't care. And let's put that up. And let's put rating. It's rating itself. It's the English word itself. Marital status. I think it should be Vaivahik Sthiti. Yes. Nice. And magic. What is magic called? Jadoo. Jadoo. Yes, there you go. We are doing magic. All right, flip. It's itself flip. All right. So that's your labels. So definitely it's your choice, guys. Languages. You all love your own language. Definitely you would be doing your own translation with your own language. You'll be putting, so you can put hundreds of those files with different languages: French, German, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Russian, then German, whatever language you like. You can accordingly put the language codes over here for that language and make a copy of the file. Suppose if I run the software in German language and the German file is not there, what will happen? Suppose if I run this now in German for German language, and if the German file is not there, what should happen? What will happen? It will, no, it won't give an error. That's an interview question. It will go to default file, which is I10 properties. This file will be picked up to pick the languages. All right, clear everyone? It won't dump. It will go to default implementation, which is this gentleman. If it has the language file, then it will use it. So that's about the translator's job. How do you now test it? It's very easy to test. Come to the URL, and on the URL press enter. First of all, right now it will load in English because my browser default language is also English. Either your browser default language is different, then it will pick it up, or what you can do is come here on the top of the URL, put ampersand sap hyphen ui hyphen language parameter. Okay, equals to your language code. What is our language code here in which we translated our application? Hi is our language code. So this is the URL parameter. You put it on the top. I'll just put it in the PPT also. To test it, you can put this URL parameter, your language code, whatever language code afterwards, and press enter. And now see what happens. It's gonna pick up that that language file for I18N for Hindi language. I think it's SAP UI language. It's correct only, but it's not loading. Press F12. Is there something went wrong? Mm, no, why it's not loading? Let me just check that. Voila, it's loading up, guys. I think some problem was there. And now you can see it has got all the labels in Hindi language. Of course, we did not do anything for currency, so that's the reason this is missed out. It is picking from default one. But you see rest all the labels got translated into the Hindi language. Awesome, guys. Awesome. So that's how your internationalization works. Now, some people are saying, Anubhav, what about this data? Guys, data won't translate. This is coming from your backend system. Who will tell me in SAP ABAP which is the concept to translate data? In ABAP system, which is the concept to translate data? What is the concept in ABAP to translate the data specific to language? What is the concept in ABAP to translate data specific to language? Data inside your table. If you have a database table, what do you use to translate data? Perfect answer. There is a text table concept in ABAP which is used. Perfect, Alok. There is a text table which you can use, which is a relationship with main table, has language code called Express. There is a language key called Express which is used, and along with that it translates the test data. That's out of this concept, actually out of this context. Just for information, I told you the data will not translate. For that purpose you have something called text table concept in ABAP which does it. Okay, those who don't know ABAP, just leave it. So text elements is again for label only in ABAP. If you're creating a report program in ABAP, for labels of that report program you can translate with text element. But when it comes to data of material, data of sales order, customer, that's what we will use the text table in ABAP. Only I'm saying data, the final data, productive data I'm saying. Okay, so I have done a similar thing of text elements. What you do in ABAP program, you create text elements. I've done a similar thing in UI5 by creating I89 texts. All right. So that's about your translation. Try out whichever language you guys are comfortable. Try out with that language. Put your language code, put your language file. You are comfortable with your own mother tongue. Somebody from Gujarat would you try Gujarati. Somebody from Punjab will try Punjabi. Somebody will try from Tamil Nadu will try in Tamil, somebody from Kerala try in Malayalam. So all these languages you can try it out, your own mother tongue, and you can try this out putting the language code underscore language code file, and then just test it by SAP UI language parameter. Yeah, and then see your language dependent. It will pick the language labels from the corresponding language file. All right. So now let's move on. And now what we're going to talk about is one important topic which we wanted to discuss is hook methods. So you remember I have told you that in controller we have different hook methods. So right now we only saw the init method. Init method is used for the purpose of initializing something. So this gets called only once. So there is a question here, how can the value of the drop down on the screen can translate? Again, for this also we use text table and domain fixed values. Sometimes the drop down value comes from domain fixed values. They will be translated in the backend system itself in SE63 transaction code. Domain fixed values, your message text from ABAP, all this gets translated into different languages. Okay, that's what will happen. Okay, let's come back and discuss about different hook methods. So first one was on init. It's like constructor of a class. Whenever the class object is created, this particular method gets called. It's on init method. It's like constructor of the class. All right. So that's called on init. So we have different methods here. So on init, this is like constructor of the class. It gets called by UI5 only once when app starts. It won't get called again and again, right? We can use this method to initialize our objects. You can see here we are initializing. Can you see we are initializing models? We are initializing a lot of models here. So all the initialization code, if you want to put it in on init method, that's like constructor of a class, gets called automatically by UI5 when your application starts only once. Okay, only once it gets called, only once in the life cycle of the, only once in the life cycle of the controller. Then comes is on exit. Okay, on init, on exit. On exit is like destructor of the class. It gets called by UI5 when application, before the application is closed. Okay, for example, user clicked on this button. If you see on the top in the browser, when I click on the cross button, you see this cross button on the top, that is closing the application, right? This will close the application. So when I click on this cross button, that's when the application is planning to or getting closed. At that point of time, before the application is getting closed, it gets called. Okay, what is the purpose? The purpose is you can put, to put cleanup code, like disconnecting from some external server, destroying instances which you created. So suppose you have created a couple of objects and you want to destroy those objects permanently. You want to disconnect from a server. You acquired a server connection from an external server and you want to disconnect from server before you close application. So no resources remains active in that external server. So all this cleanup code, basically all the cleanup code, all the neat and clean, like you do you use switch off button of your computer to every time stop your computer? Do you just directly switch off your computer every time you want to stop your computer? No, no. You will lose the data, right? You will lose things, right? Data loss pop up or those things. So all that can be put in exit. What do you do in computer? You do shutdown. Shutdown is like a normal systematic way of stopping your computer. That's what shutdown is, right? So that you don't destroy anything, you don't leave anything allocated, you calmly cleanly stop your computer. That's what shutdown does. So similarly here, on exit method is like a destructor, can be used for cleanup code. And now coming, this gets called only once, only once, right? Now coming to other methods, one is on before rendering. This is like PBO, process before output. If anybody worked with dialog programming in ABAP, it's like PBO. This gets called every time before the view is displayed or before the view appears on screen. So you can do pre-processing logic on view using this method. Like we want to hide certain fields based on a condition before the view is displayed to user. We can use this method. Okay, but they are not used much. However, there is an other alternate which I will show you in last unit called root match handler, that is used more over this method, because this method is very clumsy. It gets called every time. We don't want it to call every time. So this is the reason. However, you can use this for anything which you want to do before the view is displayed to the user. You can actually write some code in this. Just to show you an example, I'm going to go back and I will write this on before rendering. I'm going to put function, and I will want to hide the entire simple form. So let's get the object of simple form. I'm making it false. So before the user even see the view, this code gets executed. As a result of that, my simple form, I think the ID is Anubhav form, not simple form. So just put the correct ID. So before the view is displayed to the user on the screen, this method gets called. As a result of that, this is going to hide your simple form. When you run the app, your simple form will disappear, guys. Let's refresh. It won't even come. You see? It's not even coming anymore. Because before the view is displayed to the user, we have hidden, like PBO, process before output. Before the screen is displayed to the user, based on certain condition, if you have certain conditional processing, if let's say if the table has more than 10 entries, do not show form, right? This could be a requirement. Again, I'm saying it's not hard and fast rule, depends on requirement to requirement. Your if condition goes in there, and based on that it will work. Clear everybody how it can be used on before rendering, before the view is displayed to the user. Every time before the view is displayed to the user, this method gets called. Another comes is on after rendering. Any guesses? Any guesses? Any guesses? The purpose of this after rendering? Of course not PAI, guys, don't confuse this with PAI. No, this is not PAI. PAI is after user click on some button, that is PEI. This is little different. This is little different. This is on after rendering. It's not, you can't compare it with anything right now. It's actually after the view is displayed to user. Now you say, Anubhav, what is the purpose of this? How this can be utilized after the view is displayed? I don't want to, of course, do anything. Yes, guys, you want to. Do you know about effects? You remember jQuery chapter in where we did effects? Effects, we did effects, right? You remember jQuery chapter where we did effects? We show, hide, fade out, fade in, right? Those effects. If you perform your effects, jQuery effects in before rendering, what will happen? Before the view is displayed, you performed a show fade in, fade out effect. What will happen? User can't even see that, because this method before rendering is called before the view is displayed. Okay, before the view is displayed. So when would you like to perform your effect? After the view is displayed, right? After user can see the view, you want to now apply the effects, right? Correct, guys? You want to apply the effects after the view is displayed, so that user can see that effect. So if you perform your jQuery effects before rendering, user will be deprived to see the effect. Hence, for that the purpose of jQuery effects, we use after rendering. So after the view is displayed, I want to do something. I want to change the color. I want to do something. Now, why am I telling you? Because in tomorrow extra class, I will show you alternate row color, right? How will it happen? After the view is displayed, we will apply this so that user can see this, right? Alternate row color. After the view is displayed, we will supply this. Is that clear, everybody? All four methods: on, init, exit, before rendering and after rendering. Very important. Let's move on, and now let's discuss before rendering, after rendering stuff. So I'm going to go come back after rendering, and I'll say apply a jQuery effect on my table. मेरा table होना चाहिए ना, blink करना चाहिए. It should blink. So let me right click on inspect, and now what I do is I will just go to console. Sorry, I'll just go and check the ID of my table, and ID of my table is here. You can see always XML view creates the view ID of XML view hyphen hyphen the control ID. So that's the ID of the table. I'm going to copy that up, and let's apply jQuery effect in after rendering method. So I'll just come here, dollar hashtag its ID dot fade out, and in maybe 2 seconds, and then please call this asynchronous function, callback function, and in this callback function I will say this dot fade in back in 2 seconds 2000. So please fade out and fade in after 2000. Okay, fade out and fade in. Let's save this up. Let's come back and refresh the page. What? Let's have a look at it. Refresh the page. Let's me refresh. So watch out. Oops, it's not working. Something is wrong. It should have ideally gone out and fade in. Why it's not working? Something is wrong. Let's check it out once again. Refresh once again. It should fade out and fade in, guys. It's not working. Press F12. Console is our best friend. Let's check it out. Something wrong. Oh, fade in, you see, is not a function. This dot fade in is not a function actually. System is not able to recognize this pointer within this function here. So maybe I'm going to use this directly dollar this gentleman over here. Save this up. Let's come back. Refresh. Watch out. Come back. And oops, still not working. Press F12. Let's check it out. What's happening? Go to console. इधर तो कुछ भी नहीं मिल रहा है मुझे. There is one susceptible thing that's enabled property for input. That's okay. That should be okay. That is not affecting us. Why it's not working? Something is wrong, guys. Ideally it should work. It should do fade out and fade in. Let me just do fade out alone. I'm just gonna come back, refresh. No, it's not working. Something is wrong. Something is wrong. Hashtag ID table after rendering, on after rendering. It's getting called, but it's not happening. So dollar symbol, hashtag, the ID of the control, fade out in 2 seconds. Let me increase the time. No. jQuery is known to SAP UI5 already, guys. We don't have to do anything to bring jQuery because SAP UI5 is built on top of jQuery. Okay, we don't have to do anything. Why it's not working? I have to check that. It used to work. I'm surprised why it's not working. Let me just put a breakpoint in our controller on after rendering. Let me refresh. So after the view is displayed, this method gets called. Okay, let me remove this language thing on the top. Press enter. It's not even hitting the breakpoint now. Something is wrong. There is some problem, guys, with this enabled property is creating some problem. Let me remove that enabled property right now from the view. Wherever this enabled property is there, I'm removing it, guys, for time being, because sometimes causing a loading issue. And now you see it has come here. So you see it should fade out and it should fade in. Execute. No, it's not causing this effect to happen. Something is wrong. Something is wrong. And it's having some other issue. Not found male, web app male, web app female. You see, web app male, female, it is not found. I think some image problem is also there with our XML model. Right now, let me also just currently remove this SRC property for the image with XML. So if there is a problem with the table itself, system would not apply the effect. As long as we have these problems, system may not apply these effects. Ideally it should work. Let me try to apply this on the simple form probably, because let's give a shot there with that. Maybe just magic button I want to try out. So I'm going to take this ID of the magic button. It's btn button 00. That's what UI5 has assigned to it automatically, the ID of the button. And let's come back and try with that. It should work. It works usually. I'm not sure why it's not working. Just put the ID and let's give it a try, guys. Watch out this magic button. I'm gonna press enter, and you see guys, it's disappearing and it's gone. You see magic button is gone and it's coming again. So it works, guys, it works. I don't know why it's not working for table. I have to check it offline. But you see the magic button is now getting disappeared. It is gone and it has come back. Can you see? This is what happens when you put some code in after rendering, after the view is displayed to the user. This is what should happen. All right, is that clear, everyone? How to use hook methods in SAP UI5. Now document.ready is not required, Alok, anymore, because this guarantees the view is loaded. Why are we using document.ready? Because we wanted to know and check the view is loaded properly, the screen is loaded, and then only apply the effect. Here this after rendering is implicitly giving you that feature. It is guaranteeing you that after the view is loaded it should be displayed. Clear? All right, any other questions, anyone, before we close today's class? Anyone, any questions? No questions? All right, so with that, it's a wrap on today's class. Tomorrow we have a special class planned at 8 o'clock India time. I will schedule the call and I will send you the meeting invite. Vaishali, please email me those doubts which we had till today. Please email me those doubts. Yes, Venki, go ahead with your doubt.
Anubhav, yesterday I asked you one question. I was doing table control exercise. I struck up at one point. When I selected table control row, the row elements are appearing on simple form, but I'm trying to do another experiment. Whatever the toggle property attached to the row selection, based on that, when I click on either button, my simple form elements should be enabled or disabled. So I'm not getting that, how to catch my O context out of O event method, and yeah, just I'm little confused here. Can you?
Yeah, do one thing. Let's take this up tomorrow because I have to rush today. Actually, I have to go somewhere. So please keep this in mind. And tomorrow we can discuss this use case also. And then we can give a close. So tomorrow's class will start first with the 4 open questions, or 4, 5 we have, whatever we have. And then we will move to this one. Your doubts, individual doubts, anyone who has any individual doubts, any of your projects which are not working, so we can look at your use cases. What are you trying and where are you stuck up, and we will try to solve this up. Okay, the time will
Or
be
simply Anubhav, if you can show how to use the context out of that particular method, that will make my problem simple.
Context we should not use directly. The context path you should use. So we did not use context ourselves also. If you use C, we just use the path of the context that gives me the address of the selected record. And once you got this
Yeah,
address, your get property, set property, everything works naturally on this address. So we are not using context directly. Any use case you have, I'm sure, without using the context, just by using the path from the context, it can be satisfied. Any use case you bring it on, it will work. I'm not sure why have you got involved into context itself directly. It has not
because
much.
I want to read the property from the context. O context also, it has the property associated.
You should not do
But
that. You should get the address, and then from the address you should use model to get the properties for that that particular thing. Can you see it?
but this path will have complete work area. Anubhav. So
So what
this
is
path
wrong
is
in
nothing
giving
but work
complete
area,
work
right?
area? There is nothing wrong. in getting complete work area. Now, if you want individual property, no problem. No problem. If you want only one property, just put plus, put slash, EMP number.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
this
This
will
is what
give
I'm
you,
looking for.
this will give you only employee number.
Okay.
This is the address of one record. Append slash property name, and that will now give you only that property.
Okay, got it, Anubhav. This
I think now
particular
this will
element in
work.
the work area, I'm trying to read.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then I'll keep it in this code. I think this solves your doubt then. You should not use context, guys. It's too difficult to play around with context. Get the address, play with the model. Always, as much as you play with model, that will be beneficial for you. Okay. However, still you are unable to achieve it. Tomorrow I will do it for you.
Yeah, sure. I will try today, and
Yes.
tomorrow I will let you know the outcome.
All right. Cool, guys. So see you tomorrow at the same, not same time. It's 1 hour ahead of today's time, which is 8 a.m. India time. So I will send the meeting invite right away after today's class. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thanks.
Thank you.